that time of week once more for Muji and Dan to give you the comic store. It's time to open up those bags and boards, fans. Welcome to Get Your Pulls.
Welcome to Get Your Pulls, number 99.
What's that you say? Last week was supposed to be 98.99. Well, we kind of felt like we were jipping you. It was only a 45-minute episode, and most of our episodes are 45 to an hour. And
We really sped through the books last week.
We had like
50 books, and we went through them really fast. So,
and we'll probably do that again this week as far as the book reviews, because we have a bit, but you know, we may spend a little more time on the very best of the best. But how's the things going otherwise?
oh yeah, going good.
Yeah.
Yes.
New rocking the Lex Luthor look, by the way. If you didn't notice, we'll have to post a picture of the newly bald, empowered Muji.
Yeah. Yeah, shaved the head. So I'm looking, Lex Luthor-y. I'm still too fat to be Charles Xavier, but I could be Lex Luthor.
You could especially be the Grant Morrison Lex Luthor if you were about 2 foot shorter.
That's true, yeah. And if I put on a little bit more muscle, I could be a new Magneto.
Right, there you go. Always something to strive to.
It's to be new Magneto.
Weekend comics been kind of difficult for me to go get my polls, so our schedule's been a little random, but just, you know, with crazy work shifts and child arrangements and things, it's not always been easy for me to get out on Wednesday, right, and go get them like we have been doing. So, you know, may expect more sporadic episodes, but we're keeping the dream alive, baby. It ain't going nowhere, just as we get time.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, we've made it to 99 of these things. We definitely didn't think we would do that.
Oh, hell no. And we'll be back with a big 100 spectacular with lots of cool stuff. May try to hook up some kind of guest or something. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see.
Might be appropriate for that. I'll see what I can do.
We'll see if Todd's still alive, and if so, he may be here.
If he's still getting comics.
Yeah. He hasn't thrown in the towel on comics.
Reach out and see what kind of comics professional I might be able to get to do a quick little interview or something. But, so, any kind of news this week?
There hasn't really been a lot of news as of late, man. Or maybe I just haven't been checking as much. So nothing's really jumped out as like big. I mean, obviously, I guess we haven't talked about that greenlit Supergirl for CBS, so that's another. And even though it's in CBS, one would think it may be within that Arrow Flash universe, because it's going to be the same executive producer team from Flash and Arrow is going to be making
Berlanti
Supergirl.
and the Goog.
Yes, Berlanti and the Goog, who make really good TV. One terrible movie, but really good TV. And so they're going to be the team on CBS. So it does, I think, makes sense. Maybe it will be within that same universe. So before you know it, there's going to be a DC TV show on every network that's ever existed.
We're almost there.
We are almost there, but
ABC is really the only, they're shut out
Disney,
because
so
of Marvel,
but yeah, they do have NBC, Fox, and CBS, so that's the other three major, and CW, that's 4 of the 5 major networks they've taken the claim, so, that's cool.
DC thus far is quickly becoming to television what Marvel is to movies, as far as just the kingpin swinging the giant sausage around those parts, because Arrow season 3 coming right up on the pike, and everybody's excited about that.
Yeah, we got Flash next Tuesday,
and
then Arrow Wednesday. So that's like, that's 7, 9, and 10 days away.
I'm so insanely excited about the Flash. Like, I love that it's being compared tonally to the Richard Donner films.
I heard it's definitely not, because let's be honest, Smallville was great, but it definitely, once Clark became like Metropolis superhero Clark, it was more like, felt like Batman in there, and Arrow is now just, he's like Oliver Wayne, like he's as close to Batman as Batman could be. And so it is good that the Flash is going to go in a different direction, because you do want some variety when it comes to the way the characters are perceived.
Arrow's very serious. It's a very serious, sexy show. Everybody's serious and they smolder. and they don't wear shirts, or the chicks are always really sexy, and like, it's just
Yeah.
they're all really good-looking, serious, sexy people. And the Flash is supposed to be something different, like
Yeah.
lighthearted, more whimsical, and enjoying being the superhero. Like, I don't have a problem with either one of them. I just like that there's a variety. I
Yeah,
think
exactly.
both of them have their place.
Yeah, and then
Well,
speaking of the TV shows, this is when we're going to talk about Gotham. It finally debuted.
oh, did it?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good.
I did too. I was really in. Like, it definitely, right off the top, I'll say it had some dumb shit, but
Yeah, I'd give it like a good like a B plus for a TV pilot. Like, it wasn't the greatest, but if it was just like a show, then I would be like, it's okay. Like, I may check it out, but since it's about Batman, it's like, yeah, this was good.
yeah, they set the tone. Like, the Wayne parents killing was monumentally great.
Yeah.
It was very well done.
I mean, I liked all the characters and the actors like playing them. Like, I like the Penguin a lot. Young Bruce Wayne is great.
Young Bruce Wayne, I think, is a little underrated. Honestly, I've heard people raving about Commissioner Gordon and Harvey Bullock's performances in the show, but I don't know. Like, but the little Bruce, like the facials and the scowl,
Yeah.
and like when he starts fucking ordering Alfred around, and
Yeah.
I mean, he was awesome. He
Yeah.
really got it.
Yeah, I like pretty much everybody, and I like that there's all except for Fish Mooney. It was all characters from the comics that they put in there, so that was really awesome.
And I normally hate Jada Pinkett Smith, and thought she was pretty good as Fish Mooney. So
Yeah, she was. Yeah, I thought she was good. Yeah, and I like the Penguin. Like, I like what he did already, and excited to see where they go with him. There were like a lot of little cameos in there of the other people, which is fine because they're gonna have bigger stories coming, but they have like cameoed. They cameoed Riddler, Poison Ivy, and Catwoman, and
possibly the Joker.
Possibly the Joker, and then the Riddler. You were talking about before. It was like the silliest and most out of place. It was just one good. Him taking some shit from Bullock and was out of there. It was just obvious to be like, oh, hey, Riddler's in this show.
Yeah, he had to ask a riddle the very first question to make sure there was no confusion that he was the Riddler.
Yeah, one thing I do think of in my head, though, is, which this isn't like a bad thing, but I do think, like, does this mean in like 20 years that Commissioner Gordon is going to like look back and be like, all those fucking troubled kids all turned out to be real assholes? But yeah, I really like it so far. And I like the way they set up the stories too. I mean, I like mostly like bad people. I mean, you're born. I think you're like born with that capability, and everybody's capable of like being like a sociopath or whatever. But usually the world makes you that way. So I like all these characters so far. Like, they're not like bad people, but Gotham's gonna turn them into bad people. So it's gonna be exciting to see how that happens.
Lots of cameos too. Like, you mentioned the major characters, but even like Gotham Central favorites like Crispus Allen and Renee Montoya were in there.
Montoya's in it, and it is an interesting take on which I guess throughout the comics there's never been like a ton of like Barbara Gordon, the mom, in the comics, really. Like, most of the time it just takes over. I mean, in the old like continuity, Barbara's not even, his kid. But then the newer continuity,
year one was probably the biggest because that's who he's with when he's cheating on her with Sarah
exactly. And because in most of the future comics, it's like Gordon's already he's already a detective, and he's already divorced. Like, that's part of his story, so it's always like older version. So yeah, it's cool to see her in there, which, by the way, gorgeous girl.
I was gonna say, she was fine.
Yeah,
God almighty, she was fine.
She did a great job, and an interesting twist in there that obviously her and Montoya have had something in the past before she got together with Gordon, so we'll see how that plays out.
If you're a comic fan, Montoya is one of the strong lesbian characters in the DC universe, so could there have been a little bit of little HLA there between?
Maybe so.
I'd like also with the Barbara Gordon character, or I don't think that's her name because they're not married yet, actually. But very, very subtle interest. I'm getting tongue tied here. Subtle introductions of Barbara Gordon, the daughter's mannerisms, actually there that I picked up as well, and I thought it wasn't necessary, but it was really cool.
Yeah,
Because you're never going to get that far in the story.
Yeah, but I liked it. There were definitely moments where you were like, yes, this is going to be great. And other things where it was like, okay, but, we'll see. Like, it was a real good start. I'm really excited for tomorrow, the second episode. We'll know a lot more 4 or 5 episodes in, like how it's going to do and like how good it's going to get. So, really excited for it.
Oh yeah, and then Constantine will be starting soon, and
it starts sometime over the fall. Yeah,
it's gotten good reviews. Walking Dead will be back in a few weeks.
Both Walking Deads. Yeah, the other Walking Dead starts sometime later this year too. The second
spinoff.
The spinoff. Yeah, the spinoff show. Maybe it starts in January. It's during this season. The spinoff it's done. They've casted. It's about 5 characters. It's apparently a bit of a prequel. They're saying it's going to be like a really big civilization, and it's going to be like, and they said it's something that we've probably seen a bit of on this show already, but it's going to be like just a couple of weeks after the apocalypse starts.
Interesting that they've cast another Andrea.
Yeah, a different Andrea, yeah, obviously. I think not the same one.
Clearly a different character, but certainly a lot of speculation in that move that they're going to try to make good with the fans on
making the other Andrea just want to kill herself and just not awesome like she's in the comic.
It's like a Bizarro thing where that dead Andrea will have had the comic character's backstory. This new Andrea will have had a different backstory, but apparently may evolve into the comic character that we knew and loved.
Right.
So,
interesting. It'll be cool. And at a certain point there'll be a good crossover. So I'm sure they'll run into Rick and them at some point, like over this season, from a couple years ago. So that also gives them a lot of possibilities. It's right when the apocalypse broke out too, so maybe a little Shane cameo in there, make people happy. Could be a lot of stuff.
That. Yeah, there's a lot of potential really with that.
Yeah.
So that's really all we got with the TV.
Nothing really in movies. I mean, things have been announced and not announced. Like a lot of things aren't official that are official. I mean, I think The Rock finally made it official that he's playing Black Adam. That happened. They finally made it official that Jason Momoa is playing Aquaman over the past month. I can't remember if we talked about that.
Yes.
But they made both of those things, actually, which people have known for a while, like set in stone things. So that's
we did take a trip to the movies this weekend, not quite comic book related. And I talked a little bit about on my the Midnight Black Mass this week, but I would like to get your overall thoughts. Kind of comic related in that the director and writer is a comic junkie and writer himself, Kevin Smith. We saw Tusk.
We did see Tusk. I said if we were doing the old classic Muji movie minute like we did on the Midnight Black Mass, I would probably give it maybe like a 70 out of 100. Like, I enjoyed it. I could totally see how someone would just think it was garbage and not care at all. But I enjoyed it. As an overall movie, like, it wasn't there. Like, it felt like it was missing pieces. Like,
there were a lot of just unanswered plot questions.
It felt like there should have been,
they just didn't address.
It felt like there should have been maybe 20 more minutes of stuff going on there. It also felt like lots of times the scenes would go from scene to scene and just didn't fit together. And sometimes the tone would change and it didn't fit what was happening already. Like the whole part, I mean, in his own way, Michael Parks' character is out there and like really over the top and like everything. But then like Johnny Depp's character, that might be the best scene in the whole movie is when their characters like meet each other. That was great, but the movie with Johnny Depp and the two kids looking for their friend feels like a whole different movie. Like the tone's different, it doesn't look the same. So it has its problems, but it also was just so bizarre.
Yeah.
So crazy that like I loved it.
Yeah,
so,
that was me. It was
and
like
the reveal of the walrus was just totally worth it. It was so stupid
and disturbing
so disturbing. Yeah, because it still looked like Justin Long, but he really did look like a walrus. So that was some great effects on that.
And he's just fucking grunting and howling. Like,
when he's trying to teach you to be a walrus, it's just so dumb and so ridiculous. But it's like, yeah, I'm glad that movie exists.
Yeah.
Like, it's just so fucking weird. It's unlike anything else, So Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed it.
I loved it. In an era where horror is so guilty of going back to the same dumb, dead dick trappings of
Yeah.
it's another reboot or it's a big budget franchise that we're going to turn out
Yeah.
10 of these in a 5-year period to try to capitalize on the money.
And they're gonna get worse every time.
Yeah,
and all the scares are gonna be based on either having like a little dead kid or like a jump scare or going.
So you wanted something different in the horror genre. By God, Kevin Smith delivered on that.
I feel really similar with this than I do, even though I would say that it was probably artistically a better movie. I feel really the same with this probably though as I do with like The Lords of Salem, where I'm gonna be like, a lot of people aren't gonna get it and aren't gonna like it, but like I wish there was 5 or 6 more of these every year for me to watch because at least it's different.
I read an interesting article on that. Like people were bitching about how there was a lot of critical bashing of Lords of Salem and subsequently Tusk. But, you know, the article's kind of saying what we're saying in that it's like you bitch and whine that you want something original, and then when somebody gives you something original, you don't support it.
I mean, I think that's really the thing. It's like these type of movies, it's like even though, you know, a bunch of people like claim that they just love horror movies, it's the same thing as, I mean, everybody likes horror movies for the most part. It's almost the same as saying you like music, like who doesn't like it?
Right.
For the most part, the people that really like horror movies like the most popular 5 or 6 horror movies ever. They go and see maybe once a year. Like they probably saw Paranormal Activity and probably saw, you know, all of the Saw movies, and that's their version. Like these movies are like, if you love like Hammer movies or, you know, just other weird like 70s horror movies or
70s horror
or like Italian
weird
like
90s movies.
Yeah,
you know,
or like Italian horror movies from back in the day. Like the horror in like this movie like wasn't from, you know, it wasn't from like creepy little like scares or like, you know, making it dark and then having somebody pop out on you, which is the majority of everything that happens now. You know, it was just the bizarre.
Yeah, really, and it was the whole of the story almost was the
Yeah.
horror. It was like, you know, this guy gets abducted by this creep and he gets turned into a walrus. But
Yeah.
what's even more fucked up is kind of what they do with him as a result. You know, it's like...
It's also fucked up at the end. I mean, big spoiler alert, but I mean, you know, if you're going to see it, then don't listen to this. Fast forward a couple minutes. But yeah, it's more fucked up. Yeah, at the end where it appears as if he decides he just wants to be the walrus. So he just and so they just leave him there and they come and feed him fish. So he's there still trapped in the walrus suit and is all deformed, you know, has lost like his legs and arms and is just living there at this house, this abandoned house, and they just come and feed him fish every once in a while and then go on their merry way, and he's just out there living. Like, they don't immediately take him to the hospital and have him, you know, turn back into a human.
And that was one of the unanswered plot questions that I was addressing specifically when I said that earlier was that, you know, now was it just Kevin Smith's art house deal of like, okay, you figure it out, or was it like just a glaring misstep? I'm not sure, but they never addressed, like, did he want to live as a walrus? Did he just tell them, like, I'm a walrus now, so it's cool, just bring me a fish and leave me here.
Yeah, I mean,
I might need medical attention. I did get my fucking legs chopped off.
Yeah, the best. Yeah, that's also true. It's like somehow, he's just able to live. But but those are the best 2 parts of the movies were when Michael Parks and Johnny Depp meet each other and have a conversation, and then the walrus suit fight, which was from the podcast, by the way. Like, if you listen to when they came up with Kevin Smith and Scott Mosier started making up this stupid fantasy idea for this movie, it was on an episode of Swodcast, and that was definitely it. Like, they're laughing and joking, and they're like, and then at the end, he's like, he'll put on his own walrus suit in the fight, and then they're not laughing, and he fucking did it. He put it in the movie.
That was one of the damnedest things I've ever seen on the screen. Because I really didn't think they would go there.
No, it was really funny.
Wouldn't happen. It's funny because a theater attendant walked in, and we got a private showing. Fortunately for us, unfortunately for the movie.
Yeah. This week's Babylon, Kevin Smith was like, yep, the movie's out, and not one motherfucker is going to see it.
Well, like 3 motherfuckers went and saw it in Big Cave.
Yeah.
But we had a private showing of it, and so theater attendant walks in right with the walrus suits
and he sits down and watches the scene.
And like In unison, me, you, and my wife all scream, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, it's got a bunch of really ridiculous things in it for sure. But yeah, I give it the thumbs up. Like it'll definitely be part of my collection when it comes out. I will definitely buy it. So
yeah, absolutely. All right, well, it's time to get them.
yeah, time to go for the pulls here. I guess we can start out with DC. Some Futures End stuff. I got 3 of those. I got the Justice League Futures End. It's pretty cool. I mean, it's like a whole different, almost version of the Justice League in the future fighting. It wasn't bad. It wasn't one of my favorites, but it wasn't bad. 2 I really did like. Superman and Wonder Woman in the future. Not a big fan of the art in this, but am a big fan of the comic though. It's Charlie Soule, and it has a little bit of like the doom that's still going on happening way later, but it's almost the opposite where Diana is like trying to mess with Clark, and then Clark, like helps her out. So I liked it a lot. And then my favorite of the Futures End books overall was Harley Quinn. It's pretty great. I won't spoil it. I mean, you can see the cover, so you can see the Joker's in it. So essentially what happens in it is something happens and she wakes up on like a desert island, and all she has is what is it that she has? The chip, like a wood chunk, what is it?
Yeah, it's a beaver.
The dead beaver? Well, the beaver is now disintegrated down to just a skull, but she's still carrying around with it, talking to her, so that's nice. And she treats it like the volleyball from Castaway for the first few pages. But then she meets a bunch of people, meets a tribe, and it turns out the Joker has been missing from Gotham for months, and apparently in this fake continuity, and so she meets him, and he's like the king of the place, and so, of course, all sorts of really funny hijinks and insanity ensue with her and the Joker for the rest of it, so that's pretty awesome. So it was really, really funny. It continues to be just its own weird DC book that is different than all the rest of them, but it's really awesome.
Yeah, it's a great book, I think. I'm a big fan of the Harley Quinn, everything they've done with it so far. I think it was way better than anybody expected it to be, and it continues. My Futures End, I had 2 of them, and then I had a few other DC books, actually. But I had 2 Futures End books. I got stuck with one because we made our pre-orders months early. I dropped this book, and so now I've got to find out what happens 5 years in the future with Justice League United because we pre-ordered these months in advance, and I forgot. So got stuck with that one. What happened 5 years in the future? Not much different than what's happening now, which is
not a lot.
But on the other spectrum of what the Futures End books has been able to do, the Flash Futures End is the culmination of a months-long storyline that they've been building to in the book. So it was like the book didn't even miss a beat. Same writer, same artist, same storyline. It just all is, you're just getting to the 5 years in the future point that they've been building to the whole time when you got this future Flash coming in. Essentially, this is the debut of Wally West as the Flash. What we find out here, and this is some of the very interesting things that are going on with this Futures End stuff. Barry Allen is killed in this issue, saving Iris and Wally West, because the whole build of this thing is the future Flash is coming back to try to stop Wally West from getting killed, because this is the moment in time when they get killed by Reverse Flash, Daniel West, by his fucking rampage. So, of course, the present day, Barry Allen ends up fighting Future Flash, ends up stopping the accident. Future Flash kills the Reverse Flash, and Barry Allen dies saving fucking Wally West, and so Wally West continues as the Flash. So, and there's a lot of talk of what's going to happen with the new 52. I think it's coming more into view with more of the teasers they're releasing, and it does look like the pre-continuity universe is coming back, but not. It is more as what we predicted. It's going to be its own thing, separate from what they're doing with the new 52, and it's not.
I bet it'll just be like its own weekly book.
Right.
Because there is some previews for an event for next year where it looks like they may run into each other, and then I'm going to guess that's going to spawn like a weekly, like, you know, some original continuity. You know, give a piece to
the old
the
time
old
fans.
timers
Yeah.
that still haven't come back.
Then we had 3 weeks of Batman Eternal, and the book keeps heating up. The writing is fantastic. I gotta say, for the first time, I do have a minor complaint about Batman Eternal, and it's only that it's got to be the weekly schedules getting to them. But the art is definitely not on par with some of the other art in these more recent issues. It's definitely looks rushed, but somewhat to be expected with a weekly book. Still great story. You get kind of the conclusion of the Stephanie Brown story and her becoming the spoiler in these issues. You kind of find out what's been going on with Catwoman and Falcone, and the first moves in her taking over the crime family, which we saw in the Batman 5 years later preview a few issues ago. And then, of course, we also find out the big reveal on who has been behind all of Bruce Wayne's troubles for the entirety of Batman Eternal. And it's an old classic baddie of the Batman era who has yet to be brought into the new 52, so he makes his debut. And then, of course, my only other DC book was Smallville Chaos #2, continuing the awesome story of Zatanna and Constantine and all of the crazy magic in the Smallville universe. Very good stuff.
Sweet. Well, I guess we'll move over to Marvel real quick. Had one book, had Daredevil #8. I enjoyed it. I don't know what it is. Maybe because I've just had it for so long, or maybe because I feel like we have gone through like a thing where not a lot. I don't feel like a lot's happened in Daredevil. It's not. I'm not completely soured on it, but it's really gone out of like my top tier of favorite books. Who knows? Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's as good as it's always been. But just as of late, I haven't been like. I used to be really excited, like it was one of the #1 books I was excited for, but it's just gotten a little bit boring to me.
Right. That was the only Marvel you had?
Oh yeah.
I had a few. Some of my Marvels on their last legs here. My final issue of Deadpool #34. It was a $5 issue. Of course, they had to stick me one last time.
They had to get you one time.
But I had to get it because it was kind of the bookend to everything that I've been reading. And they ended the last arc in the last issue. This was that in-between arcs issue, and it was tribute to 90s Deadpool, where he goes back to the 90s with Cable, and it's like drawn.
Is it live? Doesn't Liefeld draw some of it? I hear that?
He's not credited on the cover, but the whole thing looks like it was drawn by Liefeld. Okay. So
I saw him tweet the other day about something. I think he drew some pages in it. I think
they may have also just paneled some
That's
of
true.
his
They might
old
have used
shit.
some of his old stuff. Yeah,
So
that's true.
that's a possibility. It was an entertaining issue and a good way
just
to
let
say
you know,
goodbye.
since you dropped it, I pick up Deadpool for one of our other friends and his 2-pull list, which is Deadpool and
Big Trouble in Little China.
Yes, that's his 2-pull comic list. But they went ahead the very next week after they stuck a $5 Deadpool biannual. So there you go. That's $10 of Deadpool in 2 weeks.
And there's a giant Deadpool tie-in coming, so I dropped it right at the right time. But a book that I'm glad is staying on the pull list, Guardians of the Galaxy, #19, Part 2 of What Happened to Richard Rider, not the original Nova, but the most popular Nova, and Peter Quill and Thanos when they all allegedly died, and why did Peter Quill and Thanos return from the Cancerverse alive while Richard Rider did not? More questions answered. Fucking awesome book.
Nice. Did you happen to see, speaking of Guardians of the Galaxy, did you happen to see any of the Saturday Night Live?
Yes, I saw it all.
Okay, yeah, I didn't watch it all. I watched a couple skits. Most of them sucked like always, but the one for Guardians of the Galaxy was really great.
Yeah, I mean, anything Chris Pratt is doing is always entertaining to me. So
yeah, the one where they mocked the Marvel, where they made fun of the fact, where they're like, it's a really good skit. It was really good.
Star Wars is fucking...
Yeah, and they're like, even Star Wars would be whatever. They're like, oh wait, it is. So that was pretty good. I liked it quite a bit.
Yes, it was. Thor, God of Thunder, #25, the God-sized final issue. Really a prologue to what Jason Aaron had done in this story. Kind of just recapping everything that happened, and you get to see it's a lot of unique stuff in this. Actually, you get to see kind of the origin of Malekith You get to see some future Thor and what's going on with him. You kind of get to see a little taste of the Frost Giants and what they have been up to. And of course, it's kind of all bookended by future Thor's granddaughters in the great Asgardian library, like reading these stories. And so that's kind of where all the various books come from.
Nice.
And then, of course, it just gives the final little teaser that there's going to be a female Thor. And that's the end of this run as we know it, and my end of Thor. And it was a great run, and no offense to female Thor, I'm sure Aaron's story is going to be great, but I will maybe check that in trade. I'm not falling for the Marvel monthly fucking bullshit, as we've already established on this program. Uncanny Avengers number 24, The March to Axis, essentially the same thing as that Thor issue was. The arc ended the last issue. This is just kind of, it's mainly like Havoc dealing with being a scarred up freak and not really understanding why parents clutch their children when he used to be a hero. But he's still a hero. He's just really fucked up from that fight with Kang, so he's got a real burn up face.
Nice.
And Uncanny X-Men number 26. The last will and testament of Charles Xavier was revealed, and now his final wish is for Wolverine and Cyclops to go handle this mutant this Omega level mutant that he's blocked his powers because he was afraid of what he could do.
Nice. So they got to team up. And Wolverine ain't got no powers, does he?
No, and they hate each other more than ever, so it's...
Nice.
And it could be their last big adventure because Wolverine's about to die. So.
Glad I didn't get on that Death of Wolverine, that miniseries. That's $5 a piece for 4 issues. That's nice.
No, they ain't getting me on none of those no more.
No.
I'm not even that Wolverine sounds great. I'll read it, but I'm not. I'll read it on fucking graphic novel bundle buy.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I actually am interested in that Grant Morrison Multiversity, but it's $5 an issue too. So. I mean, apparently they're big, though. They at least give you the pages that are worth it, but I'm still...
That Multiversity looks like a fucking mind trip, for real.
It looks so weird, yeah. It's definitely one. I'm sure they'll come out in the hardcovers, like, once they get collected, so I'll grab those when it becomes available.
On the DC hardcover collected edition release front, guess what I saw in the comic store Saturday?
What was that?
Forever Evil, and all the tie-ins already in collected edition.
Yeah, they actually got something out at a decent time.
That's quick as shit for DC.
It is. It is. It is.
So that was all my Marvel books. I guess we can move along to the indies / un-major league companies.
Yeah, we can. Let's start with Cal number 5. It was pretty decent. Cal's like hit or miss. I feel like it's like the Nightwing run by Kyle Higgins. Some issues are really good, and some issues are like, It really seems like you're just looking to get a little bit of info out. Like, there's a lot of transitional issues in Kyle Higgins runs where nothing really happens, and I felt like number 5, it was okay, but it felt like one of those to me.
Right. Cool. Let's see. I had Sons of Anarchy number 13. Continues to be my favorite arc they've done thus far in the comic, and major developments there. That's really all I gotta say about that.
Nice. I have Saga number 23. Over 23 issues into this, which, by the way, I saw next month there's a big old fat issue 1 through 18 hardcover coming out. Yeah, I'll get it, so I can read it all again in a hardcover. I think these image books, they double get me, but yeah, it was another good issue. Things are really heating up. If you remember the last issue, that crazy guy that stole Prince Robot's kid blasted a bunch of the actors that work at Alana's place. Yeah, she killed a bunch of the people that were playing the wrestlers in soap opera, so that wasn't cool. And so this issue, that dude is still on the rampage and definitely comes in contact with some of our heroes. So we see what happens with that. And also, Prince Robot shows back up, and he's really, really mad. So it was a really good issue.
Awesome. I really enjoyed the last issue, so I'm really looking forward to that one. Walking Dead number 131, A Journey Begins. I really like what they're doing with this book, man.
I like it too. They've got Carl's out on his own now, so that's kind of cool. And he's reunited with Sophia, so, I think she's destined to be his first his first girlfriend. So
Yeah, I think so. It really got to see Maggie taking charge in her new
yes,
role as the leader of the Hilltop,
yep.
and
She's
no,
really had one of the biggest transformations in the comic. Because remember, she tried to kill herself early on in the comic, and now she's one of the strongest characters.
a little more insight into the dead are speaking, but not much.
And then a little bit of a twist, just where you saw that new group where they saw Negan and decided not to spring him, and you're like, oh, ha, ha, they're not that bad. Well, then now they've, pulled one on Andrea and, cornered her and said, they're going to have to, explain herself to them. So as it turns out, maybe they aren't as okay as it looked like.
Maybe not. And it's things have been really tame in The Walking Dead as far as like there hasn't been any major deaths or anything since.
For a minute since the end of All Out War, yeah, which hasn't been that long.
No, it hasn't.
It's been a good little
they
arc.
did the big time jump, so it feels like longer
yeah.
than it has, and so that impending sense of doom in Walking Dead. As things don't happen, to me, it just builds and builds and builds, and it's part of the fun of reading the book.
Yeah, absolutely. And then my last book was Outcast number 4, which another Kurtman, which is slowly jumping to the top of my pull list. Is one of my favorites, man.
Pick of the week.
Especially with like horror, like with the movies being so sparse, and it just feels like there's not even that many coming out.
What do we have this time? We got Annabelle.
Yeah, which I don't care about that.
The Conjuring was good, but
The Conjuring was good. I just
good.
don't see where they're gonna get.
And there's Ouija.
Yeah, there's just really nothing that looks great. I mean, I was looking forward to Tusk, like I said, happy with it. There was a bunch of things rumored. Rob Zombie was rumored to have something. Now, the next one I'm really looking forward to, but I don't know when it's going to come out. It may not be till next year, but they've started showing it at festivals, is Adam Green's new movie, Digging Up the Marrow. Sounds tremendous.
Oh, awesome.
Everybody at all the festivals have been, like, going crazy over it. It's like a pseudo-document. It's like a new, I guess it's like a hybrid. I mean, it's been done before, but different. It starts out like just a straight up documentary, and from what I've heard, it's like even looks like that's the way they're filming it. So it's him going around talking to other famous horror directors, and he's just asking for their creepiest like on-set horror, stories, like doing like a little documentary type thing as himself. He's playing himself in it. But then he finally gets a story told to him that it's fucked up, and and it's a famous director that tells him, and they believe that like something really happened on their set. So then he goes to look into that, and obviously, at that point, the horror movie's going to start. Yeah, and so it just seems really great. So I'm really looking forward to that. I mean, that's another one that we'll be lucky if it gets to theaters, but I'll be very, very, very excited for it, no matter what happens with it. So. That is crazy at this point, man, that horror movies, like the ones I look forward to the most, like are limited in theaters at best. Like they're not even getting a run.
Well, that new Rob Zombie movie's not coming out until next year, I don't think.
I don't think so. And then
Halloween of 15 is that?
I think so. And then there was also a rumor that he's thinking about doing some sort of Devil's Rejects movie.
Oh, he wants to. It's the same thing that Kevin Smith kind of ran into.
He might kickstart it, and I'll be all down for that. I will pledge for that motherfucker.
And he's got a good relationship with the studio, so I imagine just like Weinstein did with Kevin Smith, they passed on making Clerks 3, but told him if he could make it, then they would license the characters to him. And so Zombie said that he's already pitched to Lionsgate a Reject sequel, and they passed on it. They didn't have no interest in it, but they own the characters.
Yeah.
So, but if he kickstarts it and they let him license the characters, then I think they'll be running the same thing.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
So I would be pumped for that. But but with the big lack of real horror, the last couple of years, man, have been like worse than ever. It feels like for lack of just simply new movies. Like there's barely anything coming out, especially in the theater. It's barely anything at all. But really filling the void of in some of these comics, man. I mean, Walking Dead's not even a horror at this point, but it's it's got at least the elements. But I mean, with Nailbiter being so good, and with now Outcast being so good so far, when that Witch is coming, like it's really filling my void for horror stuff.
Oh yeah, not to mention great books like Revival and Walking. I mean, they're like it's all in the
and
same.
The Wake, was the sci-fi, and then the same thing. So, but this Outcast, I mean, it's just got some straight up horror in it, and I've really liked it so far, man. And this issue 4 was even the best one, man. You get a little bit more of that new, looks to be some sort of priest character that popped up in the last one. You see a little bit more of him in this one. he's obviously up to no good, but you just get like a little bit of taste of what he's doing, and you get they do a great job in this book um, of anytime there's like a possessed character, man. The way that Paul, as a kind of draws it, like it gives you that feeling you got when you saw, The Exorcist, for the first time. Of like, it gets you every time, and the way they draw all the angles and stuff. So there's like an old lady in this issue that at first you don't know that she's like possessed, and then the kid finds out that she is, and when she like looks at him and stuff, you get that look, and you're like, oh geez, man. And from a comic, like that's hard to pull off. So
yeah, that's really a feat.
it's slow, yeah, man. It's slowly jumping up there to the top of like my most loved list of books, man. It's so new and fresh and great, and I mean, I enjoy the comic, so it's not that important of a thing, but at least cool news of that's going to be next year, supposedly going to be coming on Cinemax. So I mean, this seems like the type of thing that would also be a great TV show. So yeah, man, really great. Kirkman is really a son of a bitch on his great comic writing. And Image, as I cut my list down, it's like I can't cut any Image books.
Yeah,
so like,
that's really where the quality's coming from. Because,
yeah.
I mean, to me, they're winning in the quality war right now between the big three.
Pretty easy, yeah, pretty easy. And I mean, there's a lot of Image books I've read that I liked, and I'm just like, I can't afford every book that ever lives. And now it's like I won't even try most of them out because I'm just like, I'm just gonna have to get it. It's like so it's. And I mean, there's been other books announced. Like Remender's got another book coming to Image. I'm like, oh, that was great. And there's just a lot of stuff, but really pumped. This Outcast is great, and cannot wait 2 weeks for Witches. I think I'm more pumped for it than I've been for like a #1 of a comic in a really, really long time. Because Snyder and Jock, who from the Black Mirror, that style is already
that's so conducive
great.
to what he does,
and it's about witches, which seem to have somehow gotten in all of a sudden. Again,
they had to do something. Vampires and werewolves are played the fuck out, and zombies now are too. So
yeah, that's true.
Like,
so
what do you get? Witches, hey, I mean, there's a couple of witches shows on TV, and that last American Horror Story, which I dug pretty good, was one of my favorite ones that they done, was the one about the witches. And so now Scott Snyder gets this whole unique, weird
and
take
he's doing
on
his own witches. Like I saw him today on Twitter making fun of like the standard like big nose, like oh, I'm gonna bake the kids witches, like he went back to like the old like ancient first when witches came up, where they were more of like demonic creatures, that could do stuff. So I'm really pumped. And then just hearing him tell, he can really get you behind like a book. Because I saw a little interview with him where he basically told about like, this comes simply from like, there was some like, at one of his family members' houses, there were these woods that he just wasn't allowed to go into because apparently like, they were just big and vast, and they just didn't want the kids going into them. And so as a kid, like, he imagined they were haunted. And even now, he says when he walks like through there, he gets like that feeling of like, oh man, like something's not right at this place. And like, that's what inspires the woods that the witches are in. So I'm really, really excited for that. That's in 2 weeks. This week I have a bunch, even with my smaller pull list. I think I have 8 or 9 books this week.
Damn, I got 3. I got Batman Eternal, of course, Uncanny Avengers is back, and Walking Dead is back.
I have Action Detective and Justice League, which Action Detective always was the first of the month. So I got all 3 of those. And I have Gotham Academy #1, which I'm really excited about. We'll see, it's one, I'm going to give it a test and see if it's any good, and if it is, I'll keep it. But it just had a good pitch, even when I'm not really trying to add books right now. It was one that I was like, I got to check it out.
Hard to beat something like that.
Yeah, I haven't loved Grayson, so I dropped it and put Gotham Academy in its place. So it'll be the same moolah coming out for it. So yeah, pretty excited for it. I mean, I love like WB shows, and it seems like Gotham, like it's it's like High School Gotham. It seems like it's gonna be like Gotham's Creek. So I'm really excited for that. And then I got a bunch of books. I got a bunch of Image books this week. I think I got like Black Science. I got Walking Dead. I think Revival. Just a ton of books. And then in 2 weeks is Witches. So yeah. So I guess that's it. Next time you hear from us, we will have something planned. Maybe it'll be next week, maybe a week after. We don't know yet.
Yeah, we're going to try to make it good. So
we're going to come up with a hundo. We'll come up with some sort of special things. But yeah, Until then, go get some of these great image books so they don't get fucking canceled. So I can keep reading them, you dickheads. Just get them.